Welcome to Scofield Farm. I'm Carice, and we live in Northern California, Zone 9B, where we garden and homestead on a 3.5 acre piece of land in Northern California. And we grow food year round, we keep chickens and bees, have a golden doodle dog, and 7 kids. And today I'm talking about what to do when you feel like you've had a garden fail or a homestead fail. How do you bounce back? How do you recover? How do you have perspective? That's something that I am dealing with very real currently with all the heat and a back injury, recovering from a shoulder surgery, just a lot of reasons it's hard for me to get out and do the things that I know need to be done in the garden, on the homestead, and just the consequences of that. Also, we've had unprecedented heat, which has really taken its toll, and a few different issues with water due to our chickens. Yep, they're a blessing and they are sometimes a bit of a curse. Let me show you what I mean. Yeah, the hydrangeas did not like 119 degree heat. Nope. Working in the garden this year has been a bit of a discouragement. I have had physical issues. I had shoulder surgery in January, which I've recovered from pretty well. I've got a lot of use back. But in that time, my back went out, and that has been quite the slow recovery. Being able to be as active in the garden as I usually am has not happened. And so seeing kind of a wild and unruly garden this year without being able to really spend the time and the physical energy to bring it into check the way that I normally would can be discouraging. But I want to remember that doing what I can when I can adds up to something that matters. And more than anything, I want to enjoy my garden. I want to be present. I want to learn the lessons from my garden that I'm supposed to learn. And sometimes that might be letting some things go and just doing what's in front of me that I can do today. It's raining seeds. Things are pretty dry, but at least we can harvest. Ooh. I think there's something important to learn in doing what we can do and being able to trust that things are going to be okay and that it's going to be enough. And maybe that's the lesson alone that I'm supposed to learn this year is it's not in as many tomatoes I can grow and how well my peppers do, or if we get a harvest of apples off our apple tree, or if the wildlife gets it. It's that I learn to be faithful with what's in front of me and then to rest and have trust for the rest. These are still pretty tall. So my butterfly bush has never ever looked this dry in July. This is because of the brutal heat. You know, we actually had a very good rain year, but when you have heat so early, so brutal, literally record breaking, and June and start of July is not usually our hottest time of the year. It's usually like end of July, mid-August. This is what happens. I need to prune it terribly, but it's hard to not see this as a major fail. I know it's not a fail, it's out of my control, but that's what it feels like when you have a pollinator garden that is dried out. And I'll show you, chickens dug it up like a dirt bath. You can't even tell I had mulch, let alone other little flowers. It's pretty overwhelming. You know, we still have a few things here that are alive, but this blueberry bush died because the chickens kicked up the little waterers down there, dug them up. These are done with. I'm gonna take seeds, seriously like 8 feet tall. This looks like it was just a dirt bath planned for them. You would never know. We had a bunch of pretty flower plants in here, a bunch, and they're non-existent now.
This one's not done.
That one's not done. That's a pretty one. So it's not lost. I can actually harvest a ton of seeds. I'm thinking of selling a lot of these hollyhock seeds in like a blend at a craft fair, holiday bazaar, gift fair I do in December. I think I could do some really cute seed envelopes and make this fun because they are absolutely beautiful in my garden. I should show you guys what they look like in the spring. They were just stunning. But it is a little of a bummer to come out and see everything so dry and dead. And try to not be discouraged. Try to figure out how to look on the bright side, how to still garden when you majorly have some fails like animals digging things up and water issues and heat issues. You know, some of it totally beyond our control. Oh, I think we hung that up so that it wouldn't fall off, and now I can't get it off. Oh, woo! That was a little bit of a disaster. Teaching my daughter how to take things that feel like fails and making them still successful, I think is an important lesson. Not just how to have skills in the garden, but how to have perspective is really important. They feel kind of like blackberry thorns, don't they? Yeah. So as I said, it is discouraging to have chickens do this when we had everything irrigated. That blueberry bush has a tiny bit of green, like, but most of it looks terrible. I don't know. I just feel like this whole area is going to need a major reset over the winter to prep it for a more successful spring. This grocery bag is just packed of seeds, but I'm going to have to use a glove to get them off because it's so pokey. Kind of like blackberry thorns, really. Another thing that happened was the irrigation for all the citrus way over there, that tree, it got unhooked. It was shooting water out. I didn't know. I hadn't come and checked when it was going off. I thought I was getting everything watered. And so let me show you one of my older in-ground citrus that looks terrible because it was getting no water in this brutal heat. I don't even think it's gonna make it. And, you know, live through winter and then the heat and lack of water might be what does it in. Show you the height on these things. All the way up there. Above that roof. That's craziness. I mean, it's a shed, but still. I think this fence is like 5 feet tall. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. They're huge. So I think it's all in perspective. It's all in how we look at things. I can totally get discouraged like anybody else. In fact, I have been pretty discouraged this garden season, even with beautiful garlic harvests, wonderful potato harvests. We just harvested a bunch of echinacea. It still feels really daunting that there's a lot of limitation of what I can do with my back. The heat has been so hot and my back hurting to come out and not find things that chickens have got into, irrigation that they've messed up, things they've dug up. You know, I hear Jess Soward say the best medicine for a garden is a gardener, and I agree. Like being present in your garden, being present with your chickens, with your bees, being present, you know what's going on. If there's circumstances that have you not as present, there's just more likely to be issues, right? Like it makes total sense to me that there's been issues here because I haven't been as present as I would like to be, and it's a bummer, and I can let it get me really down. Or I can try to figure out, like, where do we go from here? Maybe we won't have as vibrant of a pollinator garden as we did last year and the year before. You know, I'd originally planted this in honor of my aunt. Some of the things are perennials and they'll come back. Some are annuals that I'm going to definitely have to restart as seed next year. You know, I would have to do that anyway, but I was hoping they'd self-sow and come back. But you know, it's just a learning lesson, and I want to be a good student of the garden. I want to learn how to have proper closure, and for me, cutting these hollyhock seeds is a way to have closure, to go, okay, that chapter's done. Maybe I can sell a fun mix of seeds to brighten someone else's garden. I mean, we're going to have plenty of volunteers from this, plus they're perennials anyway, so they're going to come back next year, but you know, what can I do to make this not such a bummer? I try so hard to do that. I'm not like perfect at it by any means, but I try really hard not to just let disappointment, discouragement, failure get me stuck. Another thing I've learned is sometimes just deadheading flowers that somehow didn't get water or at the end of their blooming gives them a second chance to bloom again. So I'm hoping that will work for these daisies because these are quite beautiful. They're a perennial we planted last year, and I'm hoping that we get another bloom before their season is over. By the way, if you're enjoying our content, would you hit that like button below and consider subscribing and hitting the bell so that you're alerted about future content? You gotta hit the bell to get the alerts, but even subscribing, hopefully you'll be able to see our stuff more often, and others that would like our content, enjoy it, they will also get these videos circulated more so they can be a part. Thank you so much. It's just gonna fall. It's almost like we are felling a small tree. We're gonna definitely have volunteer seeds scattered from that one. Oh my word. They're gonna be everywhere next year. Oh! This definitely does not have to be a total loss. This can also be a win. I don't know what gardening issues that you're facing that might feel kind of like a loss, kind of like a discouragement, but I want to encourage you that we all face them. All of us have things go wrong. I've heard from a lot of gardeners this year that it's been a harder year in a lot of places. It's actually been hot, different weather conditions, different trials, different bugs. We've definitely had different bugs. We've had gophers, we've had ground squirrels. It's just been a different year. I had deer eat all the apples and almost all the leaves off our apple tree. It's a young apple tree, but wow. I thought there was fencing around it. Apparently there wasn't. So we all face it. We all go through it. And I think what I want to encourage you with, encourage myself with, is perspective matters. Not letting something get us down, looking for healthy closure in the garden. It teaches us to have healthy closure in life, and figuring out what the next step is. How do we move on? What do we do from here? I think it's an important lesson. I feel like the garden is always such a good teacher. Am I going to be a good student? That is the question I have to ask, and I really want to be. So let me know in the comments if you relate. And we are not quitting, but there's a lot of stuff that we got to fix that didn't quite go right this year. It's normal.